St. Louis sits just next to the gateway to the West, the top 8 in the Western Conference to be specific. A good crowd expected at Toyota Stadium tonight, where St. Louis FC is on a 3-match winning streak and on the edge of playoff position where they've never finished this season. Tonight they welcome Sacramento Republic, sitting 3rd in the USL's ever-competitive Western Conference. Welcome to the USL Game of the Week with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. Both these teams, Devin, can argue statistically they're playing as well as they have all year.
We'll start with the home squad, St. Louis FC, and the reason they've been playing so well has been a multitude of changes that head coach Anthony Poulos has put in place. Number 1, Tomas Gomez comes out from between the pipes. Step in Jake Fennelson, who's been absolutely outstanding. The biggest change, though, has been the formation from a tactical standpoint. They've moved into this hybrid 3-4-3, 5-3-2 type offense that has enabled them defensively to stay structurally sound, but then explode on the offensive side of the ball. Their counterparts, Sacramento Republic, the traveling Quails, are going to bring in a massive amount of talent. The problem is, head coach Simon Elliott says they're not really playing their best, but I'll tell you what, you're not playing your best, you're on a 6-match unbeaten streak. That's absolutely amazing. They started off the year 7 unbeaten, so 13 games right there, they've had a nice flow to it. If they can figure out offensively to get back on track and continue this push, you might see them atop the Western Conference.
Amazingly, not a single loss since the end of June. For St. Louis, Kyle Gregg has shown the ability to score, but he does a lot more.
I like what Anthony said. He said that up top, he's our first line of defense. He brings that energy and emotion that any forward could have and that every forward should need. And the coolest thing is he says that he might be, at the top of his game, the most talented striker in the USL. That is a bold statement from the manager.
Certainly so, an elite goal scorer. On the other side, we're not highlighting their goal scorer, although Cameron Iwasa deserves that kind of recognition. Jeremy Hall, a veteran and a string puller.
Wilson Nisha, Matiasic, Cam Iwasa, and Bijev, those are the names that usually jump off the page. But their captain, Jeremy Hall, plays every position, and he does it well. He can play center back, holding midfielder, you can slide him into the 10. These guys look to him for leadership on a regular basis, and he provides that, both from a vocal standpoint as well as from a performance standpoint. But look, he can step in on a regular basis in any spot on the field, and his manager knows that.
They need him to be big away to Toyota Stadium in Fenton, Missouri tonight. St. Louis, 10 goals in their last 4, an inflection point in their season, 5 of 7 at home. For Sacramento, 6 unbeaten now. A win puts them a point out of first. They're away to St. Louis when we return. Welcome to the USL Game of the Week from Toyota Stadium. 90% humidity, temperatures in the mid-70s as the players have taken the field. St. Louis sits 9th, and Sacramento Republic on the road sit third place in the Western Conference. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. Let's meet the starting lineups for this affair. Begin with St. Louis. Corey Herzog, Joey Calistri, phenomenal offensive threats. They're back into the starting 11.
What you'll see here also is number 5, Kyle Culbertson, and 7, Joey Calistri on the right and left, respectively. They will tuck outside, and they will enable them defensively to hold that structure that we talked about in the open. Expect Kadeem Dakers and Wallfall in the middle to step in alongside Lewis Hilton, who's probably going to sit a touch deeper to try and explode going forward and really pull the strings to combine with the 2 boys up top. Their counterparts, the Quails, going to sit in a 4-2-3-1. Now, their formation tends to structure a touch differently from what you're seeing on the screen. It can move into a 4-1-4-1. They've also, as of late, shifted into a 4-4-1-1 with the holding forward sometimes being Cameron Iwasa. Alamon most likely will sit in that spot. Either way, Yuri Matiasic has done a good job on the left side. Wilson Nishaw tends to sit only on the right. I'd like to see more interchanging play between those 2 players, start to confuse the opposing defense, but still does a good job on the right.
Sacramento getting ready to go here. Iwasa, 27 goals for Sacramento, breaking through on that record-setting night last time out. It ended up being a 2-1 win against RGV. Here's the game-tying goal after an early goal by Carlos Small. Here we go, USL Game of the Week from Toyota Stadium in Fenton, Missouri. It's St. Louis FC and the Sacramento Republic. Sacramento in the hoop jerseys. The green tops for St. Louis. And St. Louis, 29 goals scored this year, but they've really opened up play of late. 10 goals in the last 4. As Kadeem Dakers was fouled in the free kick for St. Louis in the opening minute. Adam Moffitt's displeasure. Dakers' first goal with St. Louis last time out, a 4-1 victory over Las Vegas Lights. Kavita, Dakers, and Gregg all scoring in the first half. Michael Cox, who's available on the bench, scored his first for St. Louis. Lewis Hilton behind the ball and drives it into the box. Skied away by Cole Seiler. Tainter knocks it away. There's an appeal for a handball from Corey Herzog that goes unheard. Along by Culbertson and caught by Josh Cohen, who's been very impressive in his first year with the Republic.
Second in the lead in saves and only behind the likes of Fabian Serta at Tulsa, which you can obviously understand. Unfortunately, Tulsa has had to deal with a battering ram of offenses this year. Not really their best performances. After their roster was stricken of all its talent, and then the departure of David Vaudreuil mid-season. Steps Michael Encian and trying to right that strip in the right direction, but it's been very difficult to do so.
That was the nicest way I've heard Tulsa described in a while. Disappointing season for the Roughnecks. Josh Cohen's save numbers much more impressive. This will come to Jake Fennelson. Totally different. On Fennelson's side, Gomez injured early for St. Louis. Ultimately won the job back these last 3 games, starting with a phenomenal performance away to Reno. Started this 3-game win streak for St. Louis. As a foul short of midfield. Cohen for Seiler, long run for Herzog, and Cohen ultimately lined it out of play. High pressure early from St. Louis.
Nice high pressure, and they are sitting in that 5-back system, hybrid 3-4-3 that we talked about, and it's going to allow Culbertson and Calistri. You'll see them sit very deep on the outside and almost invite the pressure, but in the middle of the field, Sac Republic, you can see in the opening few minutes, really having trouble finding that outlet pass. They like to methodically move the ball up the pitch, but also possess that quick stripe ability.
Elliott Horde throwing in, and Reynolds is there. Out over Dakers, and Herzog able to whip this further for Kyle Gregg. Taken away by Moffitt. And there's Cameron Owasa, bodied off by Sam Fink. Run down by Tainter, but trouble brewing. Chance now for St. Louis! Long overdue goal for Corey Herzog. Another early goal for St. Louis in this phenomenal run of form.
Terrible distribution from the visitors coming out of the back. The high pressure by St. Louis stepping in, and right here Mitchell Tainter steps in, plays a terrible ball in, and Corey Herzog, the recipient of a horrible back pass, takes one touch in behind, and that bleached blonde hair has bought him a new lease on life. Gotta love the tactical movement by the forward up top. And their center backs cannot believe it. Cole Seiler with his hands on his head in absolute disgust in the opening minutes of this game. Phenomenal finish from Corey Herzog.
Well, Herzog's third goal of the year after scoring 27 the last 2 years in Pittsburgh. And the green smoke billows its way away from the St. Louligans in the corner. And that was a conversation point right before that game away to Reno with Anthony Pulis. He said, we have to stop kicking ourselves and get the first goal in a game. They've done that of late. They're looking for another as Dakers arrives. And this gets clipped out of play and out for a St. Louis corner.
On the other side of the ball, Sacramento Republic have given up a goal in the opening 5 minutes in their past 2 matches. Most recently last game versus RGV. Actually, the first 30 seconds had to work their way back, able to get 2 second-half goals. So they're going to play from behind here again. But you got to give credit to the home squad. They've really worked structurally to get this thing going in the right direction. And although there was some help from Sacramento Republic, have to respect the pressure being applied by the boys up top.
Lewis Hilton goes short. Clips the return ball in. Header is in! St. Louis makes it 2! Phenomenal stuff early from the home side. And they've absolutely shocked Sacramento.
This is a page out of the book of Sacramento Republic, who got their second goal off a similar set place from RGV last week. Just starts on a little 2-man game down in the corner. Kyle Gregg dashing to the near post. Excellent flick on. Josh Cohen, lost in translation, has no clue if he's going to step off his line and apply the pressure. Instead, he sits right in the middle. It allows that space to open up for number 22. Kyle Gregg gets his 10th on the season. St. Louis rolling early.
Well, this is what St. Louis had in mind when this season began, didn't it? You bring in Kyle Gregg and Corey Herzog, 2 guys with this great goal-scoring acumen, and, well, you wonder how it could all turn out. This is it. As Lewis Hilton lost his footing in the turf, goes colliding in with Wilson Nishaw.
St. Louis FC goal, his 10th of the season, scored by number 22, Kyle Gregg.
Gregg, at the end of last year, traded to Cincinnati, played in 12 games, only scored once, but still had a phenomenal 13-goal season. Big moment here for Sacramento to try and get back in it. Aleman popped up, long run. Fennelson catches this behind the byline.
Got to respect the effort. Jay coming off his line and.
Well, some guys like bat it back into play. He just caught it, went, yeah, I'm out.
Fair enough. Thought it was a little closer. It's all right, Jake. You're up 2-0. You're good.
Yuri Matijasic, the 26-year-old, drives to the back post. Missed header from Gregg, but bounces free to Calistri. Gregg trying to hold up play. That's been a real specialty for him of late and does well. Crossfield Herzog absolute shocker early from St. Louis. Is there another? Daker's flag is up. Herzog played it into an offside position. At this rate, St. Louis may never leave the three-back system again.
Why would you?
Phenomenal start.
You can see the explosion go the other direction, and they sit, they hold it. Now, it comes off the restart from the corner as well, but all you need is that one guy to hold the ball up and allow the outside backs to get involved. That's exactly what you saw initially down in the middle, and then once they start to explode going forward, Corey Herzog just slides over, holds it up, gets the overlapping run by Kadeem Dakers. He needs to hold his run a touch longer before he started to dash in behind. And how about Anthony Pulis going with the plaid?
I'm a big fan.
Respect it.
Moffitt onto the left-hand side. Shannon Gomez, who's been phenomenal this year, bounces all the way through. Maniasic let it bounce. Horde, high arcing, cleared to the far edge of the box, crossed again over Awasa, and caught by Fennelson. Well, Sacramento, 22 goals allowed this season, Devin. Best in the Western Conference. They give up 2 in the opening 10 minutes as Dakers goes chasing into the corner and did keep it in play. Herzog. Cross field, is there space to be exploited here? Long diagonal. Like Dakers felt he was in an offside position when that got hit.
You talked about the good movement we've seen from them on the defensive side of the ball, able to keep teams out of the back of the net, but offensively, I referenced it, that they really needed to find a way to get things going and consistently. That's what Simon Elliott has been preaching to us in our conversations, is that got a lot of individualistic, performances from players. You'll get Cam Iwasa step up, get a goal and assist here and there. And Bijev, who unfortunately is not available due to yellow card accumulation. But those guys haven't consistently been able to get on the same page. That's why their goal differential is only at +7. You take a look at the other teams around them. Around Monarchs +14, Orange County +23, Phoenix at +15. And that's just in the Western Conference. Eastern Conference is similar, and we usually give the defensive side of the ball to the Eastern Conference. They seem to have the teams that are, say, better on the defensive side of things.
Indy, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Louisville, they all make that argument, right?
Absolutely. And they're not known for, you maybe get one player here and there. You think Cameron Lancaster for Louisville, but they are kind of a trial by committee when they go forward. Sacramento has so many talents going in the positive direction, but just can't capitalize on it.
Horde a bit lucky here. He got pushed from behind by Dakers, and it bails him out. Little grin there from Dakers, former Louisville and Cincinnati man. Which means he's playing bingo throughout the Midwest of the USL. Next up, surely, Swope Park Rangers. I think St. Louis would like to keep him a bit longer.
You'd hope so.
Drilled over toward Horde, not a play. So it comes to Culbertson and St. Louis. Herzog in the 5th. Poor distribution from Sacramento. And then a couple minutes later, Kyle Gregg off a set piece. Really well worked off a corner. Wall fall. Clever stuff by Alemant. Player down behind is Hall, slowly to his feet. Played back into the corner with Calistri giving chase.
No, he's good.
And if you're Sacramento, you're looking at it and you're going, we got blown out of the building in the first 8 minutes, and neither goal was really in the run of play.
Not whatsoever. It's poor marking on the second goal.
Yeah.
Now, Mitchell Taylor gives the ball away unnecessarily, and that's 100% his fault because he just hung everybody out to dry. That happens from time to time, so it's an unfortunate mistake, but you rally the troops and you find a way to get back into it. Poor marking on the restart with the ball swung in by Lewis Hilton. There's no reason he should ever be able to get a flick on that ball in general, yet alone when the ball's already had movement on the outside of the pitch. Josh Cohen needs better communication, you saw him stutter, and he stepped up like, am I going to step into this ball? Am I going to come punch? Am I going to go try and get it? He did neither and just kind of sat there and let the play develop in front of him. That's why everybody was confused as to exactly what was going on. As a goalkeeper, you need to take better charge.
Deflected to the touchline, Shannon Gomez to throw. Hit long, Aleman. We'll get to this, Fennelson yanks it down. Fennelson, topic of conversation when we spoke with Anthony Pulis, stepped in after a couple soft goals from Tomas Gomez, and we asked, well, is he the starter now? And he said the club sort of has a policy, perform well, stay in the lineup. Easy enough.
You keep the shirt, that's right. You step in, you get the nod, continue to perform, and why not? He's done well. He started the season slow, and you referenced Mike Tomas Gomez coming back from his back injury and coming off of surgery and really trying to get healthy. That was a big offseason acquisition coming over from the Rochester Rhinos, and Anthony Pulis knew exactly what he got when he brought that netminder in, but had to wait. Fennelson just slow to get things going. And to be fair, the team in general struggled. And when Gomez came back in, he actually started off in a U.S. Open Cup game, looked great. Fennelson got the start the next game. He didn't want to rush him back too fast. And then put it in cruise control. Did well for 3-4 games, but struggled since. And that's why he went back to the drawing board. Make this more of a competition between the two guys back there and really make them earn it.
Matijasic shouting back. This is a free kick for St. Louis. Who quietly now have 12 goals in their last 4+ games. You think to the start of this season, opening 18 games, they had 19 goals total. Remarkable stuff. Just past the quarter-hour mark. Herzog, this is out of his reach. That was right off the training ground. And if there is one thing you can say about St. Louis, it's that they've been willing to toy around with formations, and this is really Anthony Pulis' first effort as the manager of his own club without any oversight. This isn't quite like Orlando City B, and he's found ways to get a lot out of a group that's dealt with brutal injury issues and again are without some pieces on the night. Barden, Walls, Martz, Rudolph unavailable out of the 18. Put back in play by Herzog. Well, that was a bit of a shocker to everybody. Cohen is arguing that he didn't touch that. Well, yikes. This is going to be a corner. Corey Herzog tried to lob while nobody was looking.
Smart stuff, and not exactly sure what he's arguing. He definitely gets a handle the ball.
It's possible he's more arguing, why did you let him put it in play that fast more than anything?
Fair enough. Good
My
call.
apologies.
Could have been arguing about the breakaway corner kick as well. Not happy with the flag positioning.
Well, it's been that kind of night so far for Sacramento. Kyle Culbertson, rather. To line this up. Culbertson swinging in, just a touch on that fake. Had it land at his feet. Got crossed up. Get out.
More questionable decision making from Josh Cohen. Coming off his line, and you're not always going to get both hands on the ball, and that's fine, but if you're going to come in the situation that he does, you better make sure this at least gets outside the top of the box. Can't just give it a little nudge to the back post. Number 4, Sam Fink trailing. Unfortunate he can't get a shot on net. Poor stuff from Cohen in the opening 20 minutes. Mike, you go back to the formation and how Anthony hasn't been afraid to kind of shake things up a bit. It's interesting because if you take a look back at what they've done, they started this season, they actually played a 3-4-3 wingback in the first game of the season. Went to a 4-4-2 for a couple games, then they came back to the 3-4-3. And then for 13 games straight, they played a 4-back system. Pretty much a 4-flat midfield. It rotates at times, but when you look at it, experimenting at the beginning, they started off the season, tie on the road at HEB versus RGV, which is difficult to do. That is one of the most difficult places in the USL to play. You lose at San Antonio, fair enough. Great squad. Darren Powell has them going, and it's hard to play on the road. But then you get a great win versus Colorado Springs and a nice tie versus Fresno, and then follow it up again with 2 more wins and a tie. And so you're kind of rolling, and you've got some good results. But then I think they fell into a lull. They got comfortable. And when you stop experimenting and get out into your comfort zone, that's when things get a little stagnant. And that's why offensively you saw things go dormant.
Reynolds knocking that aside and played ahead by Fennelson under a smidge of pressure. And while saying all that, the injuries have just mounted all year long. Really, outside of Sean Reynolds, you haven't been able to pencil anybody in every day. Sam Fink as well, been very impressive.
They haven't been minor injuries either.
No.
Austin Martz had a hip tear, Jonathan Barton, turf toe. We talked about Tomas Gomez and his back issues, and even when you guy that steps out 1 week, 2 weeks, it still affects the overall chemistry of the squad, especially when you've done well in the early goings of the season.
Culbertson plays it back. Fanwell, Kavita. Picked up by Cohen. And rolled ahead to Jeremy Hall. Cohen drives it away at the 20-minute mark. All St. Louis early. Sacramento trying to change that narrative. Fink run this out of play. Fennelson didn't get that quite right. Culbertson lining this up. Tainter. Gomez out of Trinidad and Tobago. Chance for Owasa to turn upfield. Owasa able to get this wide. That's really creative stuff. Aneman bounces down in the box. The turn from Nishaw. Block in front, draws cheers from this crowd. Here's the holdup from Gregg, a bit lucky here. Just deflect right back to him. And here he comes. Advantage played. Gregg. Knocked down, Cohen able to hold on. And it's turned over. Picked up here by St. Louis. Shot along the turf from Hilton. Collects again. Gregg, return ball, reaching the byline, and Cohen will collect this time. Sacramento absolutely has to reset. Owasa is arguing for a handball, won't get it here. Reynolds is rushing forward into the attack as Wall-Fall plays it back. This St. Louis team, Anthony Pulis goes, well, you know, a little confidence goes a long way. No kidding, it's obvious. They're dripping with it right now.
Absolutely oozing on both ends of the ball, and doesn't hurt to have Lady Luck on your side. Couple no calls for them, one just a second ago that probably should have been called a handball.
I think they would argue at some calls that have gone against them the last couple weeks.
I was just going to say Lady Luck has definitely been in the other direction for them, the wrong corner for St. Louis almost the entire season. Some poor penalty calls early on.
And last game.
Well, you had Jonathan Barton early on in the year that ended up getting sent off from the match, but Anthony Pulis was furious with the refereeing up until that point. Just got out of hand a touch. You can hear the St. Louligans are on full force right now, beating their drums away as they are happy with their squad's performance so far.
A good touch there by Marcos de Oliveira, the referee. Herzog driving and caught by Cohen off his line. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. USL Game of the Week, St. Louis 2, Sacramento 0. Goals in the 5th and 7th minute. Herzog and Gregg. This is how you drew it up if you were a St. Louis fan entering the season. This is the night that you were dreaming of. Conference power coming to play. 2 big stars getting important goals. This steered out by Calistri for a Sacramento Republic corner. Of course, I think many can point to the game played at Papa Murphy's Park earlier this year and say St. Louis nor Sacramento have any right to feel safe when these teams meet. Game they played against each other last year was a barn burner too. Adiasic.
Can still hear the traveling fans screaming at Wallfall's free kick in extra time to tie the game up at 2-2, and it was very similar to the way this match was going. Sac Republic got out early. We're up 2-0 in just final 10 minutes. St. Louis started to turn it on. How about the individual effort by Kyle Gregg on the touchline? Going one-on-one, just turning Cole Seiler around. Elliot Horde confused as well. Would like to have seen them release this ball earlier to the back post. Had Wallfall trailing. Probably a better option for him, but look, at points in time when you're forward, has the confidence like that, you just feed him the ball and let him go.
Well, it sort of embodies the night, doesn't it? Another big week in the USL. St. Louis has another member of the Round Crest Club, Austin Bold. Love it, hate it?
I respect it.
Respect it.
Definitely not my favorite, but I respect it.
That was neither answer. USL D3 just announced that they have committed to sanctioning 10 teams for next year, so they're waiting for U.S. Soccer to make their decision on that, but it looks like things are heading in the right direction. Could be more than 10. That's just what they've got on the application. This gets driven away, and the offside flag was up.
You didn't ask me hate it or love it on that one.
Hate it or love it?
Love it.
All right, all right.
Fantastic stuff. You said the sanctioning's getting in there and filed their paperwork. Like you said, Mike, everything moving in a positive direction in this country, and you really got to respect the hard work that the USL and owners and league representatives have put in, because it is not easy to juggle everything that is going on here. So many variables at play, and still the product that's being put on, week out, absolutely fantastic.
Kudos especially Stephen Short, who's the VP of the D3 project for USL, and Alec Papadakis put out a full letter to fans and U.S. Soccer explaining his excitement. All ships pointed in the right direction right now. That's on to the next stage. Another hurdle to jump. Neshaw trying to front run. It's back through Hall. Cross field, and it's just another strugglesome moment for the Sacramento back line that is hugely uncharacteristic.
I would not want to be in the dressing room with him at halftime. I'm sure there's a stern talking to for each and every one of his players that are on the pitch right now.
And when we speak with him, you hear calm, you hear intelligence, you hear tactically gifted, and you hear the desire for consistency. I don't think that's asking the world, and I think most of the time they get it. Not tonight. Not yet.
Not so far. Plenty of time left for them to get back in this match, but that's what he was saying to us. We've harped about it before at the top of the broadcast and said Simon's biggest quarrel is that his players don't come out and perform regularly. You see them come out and get good results and then turn around and struggle versus very different opponents. It's frustrating for them, especially when you can get wins versus the likes of Phoenix Rising or Orange County and then draw Real Monarchs. I mean, you get positive results from teams that are top 4 or 5 in the conference, and then you turn around and, with all due respect to St. Louis, who is playing fantastic, by the way.
Yep.
But just a few short weeks ago, St. Louis sitting in the 13 spot. You're up 2-0 with 10 minutes to play at home. You cannot give up leads like that, and that's what we've seen from them. That's why the manager becomes so frustrated.
Hilton was knocking it back. That was the comment that stood out to me most. When you switch off against good teams, this is they can really hurt you. This is what can happen. Perhaps Simon Elliott saw a storm brewing. That is a strong-willed punch from Cohen. Ball knocked across. Herzog caught, yanked out of midair by Cohen.
The first real effect we've seen from the goalkeeper, Josh Cohen, does a good job coming out and having a nice punch. Distribution back in to find Corey Herzog is excellent as well. Can't get enough on it as he's trying to bend his run, time it to meet the ball at the same point in time. Good save by Josh Cohen.
And to be fair, I think maybe now's the time to start talking about St. Louis as one of those danger teams in the USL's Western Conference. We're past the half-hour mark in our USL game of the week. 2-0 lead for St. Louis. Horde back from Moffett. You think about Swope Park 2 years ago when they made their first appearance in the USL Cup final. No advantage here at all. Right back to St. Louis Stakers. They were 13th about this time, and they made their climb, finished 5th, ended up powering through the Western Conference playoffs. Here comes Sacramento pushing along. Owasa steered aside. Fennelson. That was earmarked for the upper 90. St. Louis trying to turn things the other way. The feet of Elliott, Horde. Aleman. Aleman, runner coming. In collision, fair play, wall fall. Sends it further. Seiler step forward. And now Owasa again. Knocks it off frame.
The intensity on the ball much different from the visiting squad. The tempo has been picked up. You can see them starting to gain some of that confidence back, pinging the ball around the park. 1-2 touch soccer. It's causing frustration by the middle of the field for St. Louis. Good look from Cam Owasa, who just tried to throw the team on the back. Pick out that far post. Good save from Fennelson. That's what you want if you're Sacramento Republic. Can't do it all at once.
And it goes the other way, and St. Louis very, very unlucky not to make it 3. Well, that rippled the back of the net on the wrong side of the bar. Bounces down, away from Owasa, Culbertson. Now Matiasic, Owasa. Couldn't extend it into the corner. Herzog hit from behind, it's a foul. Let's take a look back here. Just a moment ago.
Another bad ball coming out of the back. Corey Herzog gets really close to netting his brace in the first half, and something that doesn't show up on the score sheet or in any of the stats that you see is the distribution you just saw from Joey Calistri. Little turnover in the defensive third, A one-time ball hit well on the carpet, about 25 yards into the feet of Corey Herzog, who's able to hold up play. Now he gets taken down, but they get a free kick out of it, and it allows the team to move into the middle and final third of the pitch, move their line higher. That's something you don't see, and it's been much better from St. Louis as of late. You can actually hear the coaching staff, if you listen in on the sideline, they're asking to move the line higher. Sit in behind the blind spot so that you can cause some more frustration in the middle of the field. That's been their success so far in the opening half. Past 4 or 5 minutes, you've seen Sacramento Republic crawl back in, but keep an eye on them trying to come out of the back. It's been very difficult to do so because of all the space that's been acquired. A lot of real estate available on this big pitch, but St. Louis closing most of it down for Sacramento Republic.
And Devin, you think about the 4-1 win St. Louis just had. Las Vegas is precisely the opposite. If you flow into midfield, you're falling for the Las Vegas trap. With Sacramento, you gum that up, it does change the dynamic.
Goes back to the testament of the growth of this squad and not only what they've been able to do, but who they've been able to do against, because there are some massively different styles over the past few games. Might just reference Sacramento Republic and Las Vegas. Don't forget Reno when they went on the road and were able to snap that 16-match unbeaten streak, get that late 2-1 win, goal by Sam Fink. You can find a way to break down contrasting styles. That's the recipe for success.
Long ball knocked into the right-hand corner, brought down well by Horde. Aleman, a Costa Rican, has it stabbed away by Culbertson. Back now for Herzog. There's an element of sleeping beast to this St. Louis team. And Greg and Herzog really haven't hit full form yet. Whistle blows here. Get another look.
He looks gassed, doesn't he? Been doing a lot of running. Just gets in behind Sam Fink. Wants to borrow a cup of sugar, but steals the entire carton of eggs. That's not very nice trying to bake a cake, buddy.
I didn't know that Fink was a chef. Oh. Haven't seen a lot of this kind of passing so far for St. Louis. A little too far out front. Hall. Aleman. Herzog. Well, when it's going right, it is going right. Herzog up the line. Dakers. Dakers goes shoulder to shoulder, watches this spin out of play. It's just a goal kick.
It hit him before it went out.
Cohen. Aleman guilty here. Caught Culbertson. Both came forward. Herzog knocks it down. It's away from Dakers. Reynolds did well. Back by Hilton.
When I gave out the midseason awards on my end, I gave the best beard to Matt Pickens, goalkeeper from Nashville, but I feel bad that I didn't consider Kyle Culbertson. I mean, that's a thing of beauty, especially with the shaved head and the way that he's able to blend it in. I don't necessarily think the execution of the beard itself deserves to be at the top of that pinnacle, but he moves it well.
Yeah.
Got to respect the shaved head and the beard. I'm not allowed to do that anymore, so.
That was not the style you wore. Culbertson, struggle here. Herzog knocked out for Dakers. Dakers onto his left, cutting it back across, and Cohen will dive With this going off target, keep it in play off the deflection.
This ball by Corey Herzog is delicious. Cuts it back right here, gets in one-on-one, and right here, whoop, right top of the box, picks out Kadeem Dakers. Like to see him release that a touch earlier, and that's actually headed for the far post. Comes off Mitchell Tainer, takes a nice deflection. Josh Cohen able to collect. Excellent stuff from the home squad.
Maybe something here, a response from Sacramento. Culbertson, that had plenty of English on it. Fennelson's got it. There it is. Thoughts? Rating, scale?
Much like the structure of the team, it's a good beard. It's done well. I just got to give him credit because he's able to move it in. It's got it's more like a drop fade, not an uptown fade. It's a drop fade into the shaved head. So I guess it'd be an up fade. It's not dropping because you're going up, but.
I think folks don't realize how fashion forward you are.
Well, I'm there.
Yeah. Jeremy Hall goes in here.
He's been quiet in the opening 45. Really not as threatening as we made him out to be. See some frustration coming out. Not happy with the referee's decision, but gets tangled up with wall fall. Too tight in that situation. When you're on the road and struggling like this is really where you look to those figureheads like a Jeremy Hall to step in.
Culbertson winding it over the top. Nearly found Gregg, who was quietly tiptoeing into the box. Didn't we hear this story with St. Louis? Everyone has to stand up and be counted. These moments come. And for St. Louis, they said at Reno, they were up a man, conceded a goal, went into the locker room down a goal to nil. They had to look at each other and say, all right, step up or don't. Now's a moment. That was the turning point of their year. Who knows? This could be it for Sacramento. Wall fall. Charging in. Wall fall, plays it through. Well, that was a roller coaster for Wall fall. Kyle Gregg giving chase, and it's a laser from Cohen.
This little touch around, tees it up. I thought he was going to hit this. That's why he's there and I'm here. Better vision than I.
Dakers, more open space. Dakers cutting to the right. Dakers will shoot. Put it way up and over.
That's what you want to see, though. We just saw Wallfall shifting from the right back into the middle and coming the other direction. Kadeem Dakers can follow suit, said anything you can do, I'm going to try and do better. The finished product still the same, lacking the back of the net, but every single guy on this field for St. Louis has looked extremely dangerous going forward.
Kadeem Dakers, phenomenal 2015. 6 goals for Louisville City. They were undefeated in games in which he scored. 2016, one of the early signings of John Harkes to FC Cincinnati. Harkes knew him personally from his days as a youth player. Guy who went to UMBC while they were near the height of their power. UMBC having a couple of really program-changing years in the last decade plus. And I'm not talking about the NCAA tournament for men's basketball. Let's not forget they were a men's soccer school first.
I can still remember that game. I'm talking about basketball now.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think you and I were on a call together, but had a game, driving home, listening to it on the radio. Pulled into a local watering hole, and I mean that with all respect. It only served H2O. Stopped off, asked for cucumber on top. It was delightful. Sitting there, just couldn't believe that 16-1.
Yeah.
First time ever.
Yeah. Now those kinds of games, now that's what wins you an ESPY. 44th minute here, 2-0 to St. Louis. Sacramento He's gone 6 weeks plus without a loss. Shaky ground right now. 6 games unbeaten, and yet they're well aware their results could be better. Greg able to knock it wide. Dakers showing off some speed. He's alone in this charge. Reinforcements arriving. Knocked down at the far touchline.
Another situation where their captain steps in. Thought process just lacking over the opening 45 minutes. No reason to step in and foul. Shannon Gomez has him stood up. That's where you just slide over and support. Play a little two-man game, try and win the ball back. Worst case scenario, just knock it off him and get a throw, start going the other direction. But you do not want to give something like this away.
Calistri and Dakers are over the 18, but this is crossed into the box. Come all the way out to Calistri. Culbertson. Calistri. Ball knocked down by Dakers. Wall fall. Dakers. Dakers will give it a ride. Palmed and held by Cohen. Away from Culbertson and a throw right before halftime. How about this? No stoppage time with 2 goals in the first half.
No water break either.
No, only 75 out. Everyone in the locker rooms for St. Louis, they walk up through the stands and into the dressing room. You could not be more pleased if you're Anthony Pulis than what you've gotten.
You sing their praise when they step in, but then remind them we've got another 45 minutes of work to do. It's been extremely impressive from the home squad, but you have to close this game out. If you're Simon Elliott, you get in there, you hit the reset button, because there's not one thing wrong. Everything is wrong. If you're a player for Sacramento Republic, remember, it's an honor to wear that badge. Take that into the dressing room with you. Come out stronger in the second half.
Tongue lashing on the way from Simon Elliott. Corey Herzog, long overdue. He needed to open his account in this midseason stretch. And then Kyle Gregg, who else? St. Louis 2, Sacramento 0. Plenty coming up at the half after this. Flags are waving. This is a positive night so far for St. Louis. A win, it could be as high as 7th in the West. They've never made the playoffs. This would be a big step in that direction. Sacramento is just a point out of first with a win. Right now, that's looking increasingly difficult. Welcome back to Toyota Stadium with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts alongside. We look at first half highlights. St. Louis getting after this early.
It was early. It was often 5th minute. Good ball in. And then Mitchell Taintor, what are you doing? Terrible display of distribution coming out of the back line. Not sure if he's trying to find his compatriot in the middle, the other center back, or if Josh Cohen just has poor communication. Either way, Corey Hertzog says thank you very much, cuts it back, puts it on that nice left foot. Easy pickings on the far post, and they're up 1-0. But that wouldn't stop them. Just 2 minutes later, it's a makeshift corner. Nice little two-man game. Ball into Dakers, back out to Hilton, serve to near post. Kyle Gregg, 2-0.
Kyle Gregg's 10th of the year. He's 3 off the Golden Boot lead in the United Soccer League, and he's scoring as he has over these last few years at a very high rate. More communication issues, Devin.
The woes from Josh Cohen are just absolutely poor. And again, you're not going to get your hand on every single ball, but if you're a goalkeeper and you step out there, you're Josh Cohen, you come with intensity and you punch that out. That wasn't the case. His first half was an absolute blunder. Now, we saw some glimpses from the likes of Cami Wassa and Wilson Nishaw, but again, defensively, St. Louis was extremely impressive. This one gets knocked into the mixer. Nishaw does a good job bringing it down, but all the boys at the back do a good job. Fanuel Kavita steps in, excellent tackle. St. Louis started to counter again. This could have easily been 3 or 4-0. Nice ball to the back post. Corey Hertzog just cannot finish it off.
Caught by Cohen, who had an up and down performance in that first half, to say the least. Has started every game this year for Sacramento. Cami Wassa, all-time leading goal scorer, nearly added another.
Took on 3-4 players, tried to do everything on his own, and why not? Nothing's going for them in the first half, and you can see the possession they've won, but it's been meaningless. It's balls being moved from left to right, outside of the back. Not a lot of interchanging play in the middle of the park, and how about the shots? 10-5, but efficient by St. Louis. 5 of them on target. It's exactly what you want. Anthony Pulis has his boys rolling.
Devin, we've seen a lot of St. Louis and a lot of Sacramento this year. For Sacramento, these 2 goals they've allowed, uncharacteristic for St. Louis. You're happy with this, but you know you've got more.
It's almost the exact opposite of what we saw last game. Sac Republic came out. They had a great first half. Then things really started to shift around the 75, 80-minute mark. St. Louis got back in, got too late. So a lot of work left to do for the home squad. But the visitors have to show us what you're made of. You want to make a case for being best in the West? Where's the heart?
St. Louis 2, Sacramento 0 at halftime. One goalkeeper has moved a couple times so far this year and over the last couple of seasons. Greg Cochran has been a phenomenal force between the sticks when he's gotten the chance. A look at his journey.
Cochran tonight appearing in his 71st career match with San Antonio FC. He's been with the club all 3 seasons, most consistent there on the back end.
I felt like my whole life I've always had to prove people wrong. Getting cut from the state ODP team when you're 13 because you're too small. And then in your club team, you sit on the bench until you're 16 or 17 years old because you're too small. Everything kept referring back to you're too small. There's no better feeling in the world of being able to look at someone that told you no and to be able to say, I told you so. You kind of see it all when you go through times of playing, getting cut, being someone on the field, playing all the time. It kind of gives you a good grasp of where different players are and what their mentality might be. It's definitely shaped who I am. I wouldn't change anything for my career or for how it's gone. Not only have I grown as a player, I think I've grown as a man in terms of being able to deal with anything that I really think that's thrown at me. I think there's a bunch of different ways that you can be a leader. Bring my lunch pail to work every single day, and I try to get better every day. And if I have that kind of mentality and other people see me pushing, regardless of what we're doing, that's the kind of leader I want to be. This is my 3rd year here, and to be able to stay in one place and to really grow with it has been a tremendous honor, and it's something that I don't take for granted at all. Every time that I step on the field, I hope that I represent this club and this city. It's a privilege to play for such a passionate fan base. I'm Greg Cochran, defender for San Antonio FC.
Jason Johnson! You've got to be kidding me! Oh, what a
Well, we threw you a real left hook there. We thought we were going to bring you C.J. Cochran. We gave you Greg Cochran. This is me at my absolute best. Alongside Devin Kerr, Mike Watts back with you. These fans are checking out the latest on USLsoccer.com. Let's show you the latest news and notes from around the United Soccer League. 10-10 club, Emmanuel Ledesma, certainly an MVP candidate. Second in USL's modern era. 10 goals, 10 assists. But Isnell Cooper, first to 40 clean sheets. Been splitting time for Charleston, 50 goals, so over 1,000 on the season. Devin, take your pick.
It's crazy to think that it's only the second player in USL history, Emmanuel Ledesma, who can step in and have that title. The other one being Irvin Parra last year with S2 and his time with Orange County. And with the amount of talent that's coming through the ranks, you're only going to see that number continue to grow. And then with Charleston Battery, they're looking to continue that streak. They got a rough patch coming up for them, though.
Charleston playing as well as anybody in the East right now. As we take a look at some big USL D3 news that's come down the pipe. How about Greenville Triumph? It's official. It's the green and blue that they're going to go with. The team's crest paying homage to the Blue Ridge Mountains, the rivers that contribute, in their words, to the beauty and livability of the upstate. Devin, we've talked a lot about crests. Thoughts?
I like it. I respect it. Again, not my favorite, but definitely one of the better ones that we've seen as of late.
So USL D3 set to launch in March, and they have already placed their application in for sanctioning with U.S. Soccer. Meanwhile, this is news that's, Devin, really caught the league in the Charlotte market. McKenna Woodhead was told by doctors permanently paralyzed from the chest down, a water sport accident on June the 25th, and the Independents, as well as the rest of the league, asking for a lot of not only prayers but some action too.
It's beyond sad, but that's everybody's initial response because she and her friend are on Lake Wiley. They're on a jet ski, and unfortunately things just don't go their way, but her friend steps in, and there are positives here. Friend steps in, able to drag her to safety, able to save a life, and now everybody's really battling around her, and that's the biggest thing. You realize how big this world is. Sometimes you can feel extremely small. That's not the case. This soccer community has really rallied around her. Her Carolina Rapids fans have stepped in. They're bringing her sunflowers, her favorite flower, on a regular basis to help push her to recovery.
Well, thoughts with McKenna Woodhead and, of course, Charlotte Independents doing good work there. Plenty more coming up here from Toyota Stadium after this. Well, I'm not sure how you light those drums up, but it's a good concept as St. Louligans far and wide have to be pleased with this score at halftime. St. Louis 2, Sacramento 0 through 45 minutes. Back to our USL Game of the Week Devin Kerr, Mike Watts' team sitting in 9th, team sitting in 3rd. So this is a great matchup. Phoenix and San Antonio, much of the same. Team at the top of the playoff race and team hanging around near that playoff line.
Phoenix has been very up and down recently, having to deal with the drubbing at Real Monarchs, but then turned things around and went to T2. Last week was an absolute roller coaster for them, going down 4-0, getting back into it with a 4-3. So you're going to see them a couple times over the next few weeks. We referenced Real Monarchs just a second ago. St. Louis going to get to take their talents on the road, travel to Zion's Bank. And how about HEB Park? Darren Powell and San Antonio FC had a nice streak going, got themselves back into the playoff race as high as 5, but they faltered again. So 2 back-to-back weeks to really show what they're made of on the national level.
So you'll see it here on ESPN3, and it should be noted that Real Monarchs St. Louis game just today has seen its time shift back to 10 p.m. Eastern time. You'll see it on ESPN3 no matter what. Devin, we'll be there. we'll be with it.
Was looking forward to an early one, but hey, now it'll be a late one. That's okay.
So it goes. Well, if you're Josh Cohen in your Sacramento, you come out of the locker room, and Simon Elliott was the last one up the stairs along with his assistant coach. Clearly disappointed. Well, now you've got to try and get the wheels back on. You're only down 2 on the road. There's no reason to think that this is unattainable on the night.
The good news is they are very much a second-half team, but that works for them and against them. For them because on the road, they've scored 8 out of their 14 goals in the second half. They've also given up 7 out of the 12 in the second half as well, so they really need to solidify things on both sides of the ball. Forget about the first 45 minutes. If you can, use that as fire to fuel you for this second half, but you have to find a way to distribute better coming out of the back. The unnecessary mistakes, throw them out the door. You need the boys in the middle of the park to really get involved more. Jeremy Hall and Adam Moffett were almost non-existent movement-wise coming in to help the guys in the back four connect with the guys up top.
So Cohen being the goal on our right in this second half of play for St. Louis. 2 call them unorthodox goals. 1 comes from Tainter, the other a really well put together set piece. Maybe not unorthodox, but not one that you write onto the score sheet game in and game out. Well, they've got a 2-goal lead now, and it's absolutely massive that they keep it, not just because they can move into playoff position, Devin. There's history on the line. They could get their first ever 4-game win streak. Here we go, second half. Sacramento right to left as St. Louis tries to protect their 2-goal lead. Toyota Stadium in Fenton, Missouri. St. Louis sits 9th to start the night. And it's possible we could see a home sweep this evening, Devin. 5 games in the USL, 4 on ESPN+. Shannon Gomez knocked out by Calistri.
I'll tell you what, if Isidro Sanchez and El Chelis are able to travel to Orange County and knock down Brayton Cloutier, I'm going to lose a whole lot of respect for myself. You don't really see them go out there, and Orange County is extremely dangerous.
Matiasic. Whistle bound aside into the corner. Dakers.
Plenty of talent on the field for Vegas. They go on the road, it turns into something totally different. We had them on the game of the week just a few short weeks ago in that 10-goal affair versus OKC Energy. Just end-to-end stuff, never stopping.
Ball knocked back, and Mitchell Tainter plays it ahead. His 18th start, coming over from Toronto FC 2 over the offseason. Good turn in Sacramento. Slow and steady. I'll get the long diagonal. Matiasic drives the ball back the other way. Jeremy Hall. You do see Greg drop in and close down a passing lane and make it a little more difficult to link. Matiasic serving across, will fall. And hit on the volley right into Fennelson. That's Aleman.
That's the work ethic that Anthony Pulis was talking about. Where he's not only doing it 40 yards from goal, he's doing it 70, 80 yards from goal on the other end. He really likes that first line of defense. Nice ball movement by Sacramento Republic, but it's a half chance from the top of the box. Unfortunately, just not really finding those advantageous areas we've seen them do in the past.
Marcos de Oliveira has been very quiet, today's referee, whistling Aleman. Culbertson still down on his haunches. Culbertson out of Columbus, Ohio. Bounced around a little bit, 3 different colleges, finished at The Ohio State University. Devin, I don't know if you caught that, The Ohio State. Okay.
I heard you.
Yeah.
I heard you.
Ball played long. There's contact there, no whistle. Ball fall, peeling back to De Oliveira, the referee. Gomez. It's been better from Sacramento to start this second half. As Moffitt collapses down. Moffitt last year just under, over the course of the season, 400 minutes. Surgery for a hernia really put him on the outs. Never totally recovered. It's one of the major pieces for this group in midfield when all is rolling the right way. He's up over 1,300 minutes this year.
He started off the season quite well, especially the opening 7-8 matches, but not carrying the supporting role that we've seen him in the past. Only 1 goal to show for his efforts, no assists on the season whatsoever. That's not very characteristic of Adam Moffitt. Mitchell Tainter not happy with the referee in this situation, explaining that he got the ball on his challenge. You're going to get another look as he steps in, and it's got a difficult argument there. It's hard to argue you got the ball when you put a forearm in someone's face. Trust me, I know.
Kyle Gregg walks away, didn't fancy the challenge, but didn't argue it too much. Ball hit long. Moffitt steers it down. Trouble brewing. Shot is on. Saved. Cohen. Wall fall. Spun on that and gave it a rip. And turned over. Comes St. Louis. Another goal could be a backbreaker. Dakers. Stomping on the brakes. Put it up for Gregg. This ball deflects. This crowd loving the effort right now. It's a goal kick for Sacramento.
Good ball into the back post. Floated high, and another great job by Corey Herzog bringing the ball down, setting up his compatriot in the middle of the pitch. Excellent technique from Josh Cohen, though. That's the type of save you want to see the goalkeeper make. Gets his body and hands both behind the ball. Couldn't bring it down initially, but kept it out in front of him and kept it close.
Shot is hit way out of play. It was Lewis Hilton. Mike Jeffries called him a soccer junkie. Guy who takes 8 to 5, 9 to 5 kind of work seriously. If you asked him to train that long, Jeffries said he'd go that long. Scooped up field, brought down on the turn. Adjasic, Moffitt. Moffitt, 12 goals in his MLS career that spanned well over 100 games. And when we talk about St. Louis dealing with all these injuries, we talk about Moffitt being in and out of the lineup. Last year for Sacramento, Devin, you and I look at the injury report for Sacramento right now, and it's invariably half their defense is in there. This is really not the best we'll see from Sacramento in terms of personnel as much as anything.
We already talked about the form that Simon Elliott referenced and how he wasn't happy with their overall performances, even though they have their streak going, but just bitten by the injury bug. They just re-signed Emerick Clementa, obviously a fan favorite here. Massive amount of appearances for the squad over the course of a couple years. Got him back on July 3rd, and they're still struggling to get him back into full fitness. Simon Elliott telling us that he's getting close, just not all the way there yet. I was just looking at you, totally forgot about Carlos Rodriguez, forgot that he was hurt. He's an amazing defender. They are sorely missing him tonight.
Josh Turnley could start at that right outside back position at times, and at the time you sort it all out, Partain, Rodriguez, Turnley, and Clementa, it's not that they don't have any first-choice defenders or guys that would play on a consistent basis, but they don't have all the tools in their toolbox right now. Matiasic, little veteran wiliness to it. Attack is on. Owasa cutting back, trying to lay this across. This gets up high, hits player up in the face. An immediate point to the sideline to bring the athletic training staff on. Looked like Wilson Neshaw. Neshaw is up and about. It's Matiasic. It's down.
Good stuff by Cam Iwasa. Takes advantage of Kyle Culbertson, who saw red a touch. Excuse me, Joey Calistri, and tracking back, just put him on skates, pulled it in behind. Matiasic catches one off the dome right at the top of the box. It's going to leave a mark.
Matiasic is up and moving. We asked Simon Elliott a bit about Matiasic, and he said he's been a pro since he's 18. There's just elements to his game that really do stand out. He's a smooth operator in midfield. Talked about how he finds space, understands the nuances of the game. Matiasic has been a really good midseason addition for them.
He's a guy who bounced around a couple different squads in Slovenia and well over 150 appearances over the course of that time frame, and just does a good job stepping in. Again, another midseason acquisition. I guess you could call it midseason, early April. I mean, like, that's early season, but midseason for some guys. When you come into camp in February, you look at it in April going, where you been? I've been at work for 3 months.
Off the head, Moffitt, and cleared toward the bleachers. Throw coming here for St. Louis. Win for now would put them in 7th, but there are games late that would have an effect. The attack is on. And breaks down. That Portland game certainly will have a lot to say on where things stand at the end of the night.
Not only does it put him in 7th, but it puts him in striking distance of 5th.
Incredible.
Slide right in behind Phoenix Rising. Again, like you said, a lot of fixtures still to take place and play out, but get close to T2, Reno, San Antonio, all those squads talked about a little bit more frequently than we've seen from St. Louis FC.
Sam Fink, slow to his feet.
You know, for me, this experiment that's going in the right direction really started almost around late June, early July. They were playing RGV, I believe. Anthony Pulis shifted the back line. Now, he didn't go into a 3-back. He stayed at the 4-back, but he moved Sam Fink from the center back position outside into the marking back. And he had Fanny Kavita out there and just kind of flip-flopped him. And I asked him after that mass in back-to-back games, and I said, do you think he did well enough to continue to perform there? And he said, well, you have to wait and see. He was very fortunate that I was on the next call for their next game, and sure enough, at right back again. Now, halfway through the match, he switched him again. So Sam went back inside, Fanuel Kavita came back outside, but that shows you the confidence that he had in those two, and they were able to get results out of both games, albeit one a tie on the road, but still good stuff. And that was the start of the makings of this 3-back system that they've done so well in.
Owasa, I'll deflect out. And really, when we talk about the 3-back system, the conversation has been, well, we have the pieces for it, right? Those two and Sean Reynolds gives you the ability and the flexibility to play with 3 or 4 in the back. That changes the whole game.
And then you have to get the chemistry between the outside wingbacks and the likes of Kyle Carbleton and Joey Calistri. You have to trust them in the process that when things are coming in transition, you're hoping that they really are going to step and help, and that's everything that we've seen so far in the past few games. It's definitely been on display here tonight.
Lehman toward Tainter. Didn't make clean contact with that. Sacramento able to reload. Hall. Brought down, Moffitt reversing. This will deflect across the top of the 18. Goes blaring the other way. And lest we forget, Sacramento is the team that's made the playoffs every year. St. Louis is the team that's never made the playoffs. And there is an element right now of knowing your history, right? St. Louis fans from the very beginning this year, optimistic, and by their own admission, wary because they've been there before. Sacramento has hit the highest of highs, never really struggled to make the playoffs until last year. They make it, they get out of the first round, they get by, of all teams, Real Monarchs. So you look at this game, and I don't think there should be panic coming from the Golden State either. This takes a little back heel flick. Comes out to Gomez.
Not whatsoever, and sometimes as a manager, you almost invite situations like this.
Matiasic, that's caught by Fennelson. If he lets that scoop in front, Moffitt is waiting to hunt.
You never want to give up any points whatsoever, but you go on the road, and if this is the result that holds, Simon Elliott takes his boys out behind the shed and just gives them a good tongue lashing, letting them know everything that they've done wrong. But it kind of goes back to that reset button I referenced just before halftime. Get everybody back on track, and you've got this 6-game unbeaten streak going. And if it doesn't pan out for you, you've got a chance to say, okay, we get it, we messed up. Let's go prove Simon wrong. Let's show him what we're capable of. Because you take a look at their upcoming schedules and what they're going to have to do in the next few weeks. They've got some decent challenges, but an awesome opportunity to gain some points as well. Now, still plenty of time in this game. Then you have Los Dos at home. That should be 3 points.
Should.
Very politely. Then you got to go on the road to Reno. That's going to be a difficult fixture. But then 3 games in a row. You're going to host S2, on the road to Tulsa, and then on the road, host S2, on the road to Tulsa, on the road to OKC. 3 out of those 4 games are extremely manageable outside of the Reno game, where you should almost have a guaranteed 9 points. So though they haven't been at their best tonight, it's a good stretch for them to get back on track.
St. Louis pushing for another. Dakers closing in and handled on the ground by Cohen. Gosh, those are famous last words, right? Well, those are 9 points. And again, you're favored. Maybe you drop 2 here, you gain 2 you don't expect elsewhere. This is a yellow card for time wasting. It's Reynolds and Kavita, and pushed forward, slowed play down to a crawl. Changes coming for Sacramento. Espino and Villarreal set to come on. Wilson Nishaw. Also Kevin Aleman comes out.
Number 3, green. Yep. Yellow card.
Well, play started again by Sacramento. It was Fanuel Kavita that got the yellow card. That's only his second of the year. Kavita, really impressive story. Maddie Lee, who did a great job covering the Monarchs and RSL. And the NWSL side there, Utah Royals FC, just left a couple months ago, but wrote a really good story about him moving from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Ball played through, contact from behind. Seiler looked like he may have rode Dakers into the ground. He goes down too easy. But Kavita's been part of a defensive resurgence here for St. Louis. Frustration from Shannon Gomez. A look back here a moment ago.
Just excellent vision coming out of the middle. That's close. It's close. Not enough. Not enough for me.
Herzog. What's this roll ahead? How long until we start talking about wall fall in terms of, wow, Herzog. Calistri. But Wall Falls had 3 or 4 passes tonight where we've gone, wow, great vision. Eventually, you just talk about Wall Fall as a player and go, a guy with great vision.
Unfortunately for them, he's really struggled since he's come back from his injury, and that's been since early June. Was looking at some numbers the other day with one of our producers, and she was asking me, when did he come back? And it seems like it was yesterday, but you start tracking back through the performances, and it was just over 2 months ago, and in that point in time, they were struggling to find him regular minutes, trying to get him back up to match fitness. Well, he's there. Now it's time for him to continue to shine on a regular basis. We've seen that tonight, but haven't seen that in the previous performances. Definitely gaining confidence.
Service across, aimed at Villarreal. Gomez going into the boards. Herzog wanted to play. Tossed in by Gomez. Villarreal. Ricochets out to Seiler. Chance to knock this forward. Bobbled, and Fennelson has it now. Owasa. Return ball to Owasa from Espino. Moffitt aiming for the back post. Header snapped out in front. It's in, and this is going to count. Sacramento scores. They've got one back. Villarreal. It's his first for Sacramento.
This stadium is stunned. Adam Moffitt drifts this ball all the way to the far post, and you can see Joey Calistri asking for the flag to be raised. They don't do it. Matty Jasic does a good job driving the ball back across the 6, textbook form from the outside midfielder. And how about the trailing run from substitute Jaime Villarreal? Just puts himself in the appropriate position, trusts his teammate that ball is going to be there, gets on the end of it, and claws his team back in within 1.
If you followed this short-lived rivalry because St. Louis doesn't remain in the same conference for all too long. You know that the 4 meetings, well, this being the 4th, 2 of them, the last 2, have had crazy wild finishes down the stretch.
You could sense the energy changing as well, and it was a slow shift. Nothing too threatening from the visiting squad, but when you sit in the formation that Anthony Pulis has put them in, a lot of energy is expressed trying to challenge the ball on a regular basis, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I was about to say, just before that ball was floated in, when he was going to bring in reinforcements, we've seen a lot of ball movement from Kadeem Dakers, Wallfall, Corey Herzog, Kyle Gregg.
Matiasic creating room, goes down, it's a foul. Just outside the area, Reynolds is incensed and shown a yellow card.
Energy again lacking, structure changing. Matiasic taking advantage of it, good footwork, gets in behind. Sean Reynolds slow to arrive, frustrated with the boys that they didn't shift over, and you could see it from the outside back. Thinks either Sam Fink or Fanny Kavita should have stepped in and got a challenge in sooner, but as he slides over, he goes to ground too early. Matiasic goes to get around him, gets fouled. Another dangerous opportunity for the Quails.
There are minimum 6 Quails on this field that I think could take this free kick. This is a great ball striking team.
Can you imagine the banter that goes on the training ground?
Yeah.
It makes for good competition, drives you to be better.
Well, Matiasic is behind the ball. He's got 1 goal this year. It will be Matiasic right into the wall. Recovers, goes shoulder to shoulder, wins it away from Dakers. Matiasic, Espino. Fannelson has it. Put a little curl on that. St. Louis holding on for dear life at the present moment.
Good pressure by Sacramento Republic again from Matiasic and the hard work ethic. His first touch fails him and he tries to pick out this far post. If he can arc this and pick out that upper corner, probably ends up in the back of the net, but it's not enough to challenge Fennelson.
Calistri, now Gregg. Ahead by Hilton. Over Kavita, handled by Reynolds.
I'll take it from you when he comes out. What number are you going to put? 22.
St. Louis preparing to make a change. Maybe they're able to use a substitution to turn the tide back, but Sacramento beginning to look like the 3rd place team they are, showing their teeth on the road. The league's best defense in the Western Conference, 22 goals allowed, twice stunned in the opening 8 minutes. Playing closer to potential in this second half, buoyed by a 67th minute goal from Villarreal. And here comes a change. This is Albert Dequa coming in, 20-year-old. Enough for Kyle Gregg. Checks out. Goal in the 7th minute. And he's up to 45 career USL goals.
Solid performance from Kyle Gregg. Started to fade towards the second half, but did a great job on the offensive and defensive side, bringing in Albert Dequa. They lost him for a few weeks due to a tweaked hamstring, but he's able to get back to match fitness. Another good look at Gregg's goal. Again, excellent ball movement by St. Louis, finding the near post. And I like the thought process from head coach Anthony Pulis. He brings off Kyle Gregg, but he's going to keep in Corey Herzog because of what you're seeing right now. His ability to not only distribute, but be much more possession-oriented. Gregg tends to be down into channels, wants it at his feet to challenge guys. Corey Herzog can really play with his back to goal anywhere on the pitch. Don't be surprised if you see another change from St. Louis and the likes of Michael Cox or possibly even Austin Ledbetter. It just depends on how much energy he sees out of Kyle Culbertson and Joey Calistri coming down the stretch.
And St. Louis made a signing just yesterday, announced Tyler Pollock joined the club. Played in over 50 games for FC Cincinnati the last 2 years, so they do have an extra outside back option. Whether or not this is the moment, try that on for size remains to be seen. Flicked across the field, brought down by Matijasic. Matijasic has this deflected aside. And here comes Dikwa. Anthony Pulis very decisive, saying the process has not changed at all. This 3-game winning streak. It's been more of the same. Results have fallen their way. If they win here, 4 straight wins for the first time in franchise history, something that he himself will say he doesn't really care about. Records don't matter. He just wants to win. 4 in a row would feel good for a coach. The early going was trying to get this team to mold in his image. Have for Moffitt, back now for Hall. Matijasic. Matijasic slipping it through, sliding down, Villarreal. Kavita ushered that back, and eventually Fennelson came.
It's one of those frustrations as a center back where Fanuel Kavita isn't wrong in the thought process. He wants his goalkeeper to come and get it, but again, you got to communicate, make sure he's coming off his line. Very nearly gives that one away.
This will bounce through. Maybe something here for Iwasa. Fennelson dives, steers it out of play.
Sean Reynolds, terrible challenge. Cam Iwasa too clever for that. Pauses a touch to see if he can pick out the trailing run of Villarreal. And just good stuff from number 24, Jake Fennelson, stepping up, making another save, keeping his team in it.
Villarreal, that's too high, gets over Tainter. And out. Well, quarter of an hour to go. If you're St. Louis, if you're planning on sitting in and waiting on your heels for this final whistle to blow, you're going to be waiting a real long time.
That's not going to get it done. You need to get back to the basics of what you were doing at the beginning of this game. I understand you're sitting on a lead, but you need to challenge this Sac Republic squad because you're giving them too much respect and too much of the ball in very dangerous areas. That's why they were able to get the first goal, and they've had a lot more opportunities here in the second half.
St. Louis staff referred to this game versus their 4-1 win against Las Vegas stylistically as night and day. Very direct, very physical from Las Vegas. Sacramento builds up such tremendous flexibility. Can go either side, can work down the middle, can work through each line one by one. It's a throw for St. Louis. They try and prevent the buildup that could undo their 2-goal lead from the opening 10 minutes. Hall has to run back and corral this. Pushed up for Gomez. Swipes right. Matijasic. Now Hall. Popped up. Dikwa. Wall fall. Does fall. Brought down by Hall.
Hold it, bring it, bring it, bring it.
Michael Cox will come on. He scored in his debut against Las Vegas last time out, went 13 minutes. A long, frustrating process to get him into the mix. And he'll replace a guy who had a long, frustrating span where he hasn't scored the level he has the last 2 years. But Corey Herzog scoring an important goal with his immense energy, pressure against the back line, and cool finishing.
Sometimes for strikers, it doesn't hurt to be in the right place, right time, as well as. And Mitchell Tanner just making terrible decisions in the opening 45 minutes, gives this one away. Gets in one-on-one with Cole Seiler and just challenges him to the far post, able to beat Josh Cohen. We saw a lot of stuff from Corey Hertzog tonight, not just finding the back of the net, but his ability to hold up play, find guys in dangerous positions down into the channels. Excellent shift from Corey Hertzog.
Pulis and Hertzog played against each other once upon a time. He called him an absolute nuisance. Cox played under Pulis last year, Orlando City B. After a lengthy stretch of time, finally got Cox into the equation here, St. Louis, after what was a ill-fated span in Nashville. Throw goes to Sacramento.
Gary Smith project just didn't work out. They're an interesting squad too. They've been on a resurgence of sorts, but can't really figure out what's in the water there. Some excellent performances versus the likes of Louisville City. Those two trading blows, and their rubber match coming up soon.
Don't forget, giant game in the Eastern Conference on the weekend. Tell you about that in a moment. Dequa comes free to Cox. Dequa ricochets across. Two teams double-digit undefeated streak squaring off Saturday night. Eastern Conference leader FC Cincinnati and the Charleston Battery we just saw draw away to Tampa Bay in the USL Game of the Week. It's at Nippert Stadium. All the action on ESPN Plus, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday night. Here comes a change for Sacramento. Proven goal scorer Christian Isley comes on for Cole Seiler, the center back. And one would think perhaps we'll see Hall drop in, keep that back four intact.
Most likely. Eventually they may turn that into a three-back system, but it's not hit the panic button yet.
That's the third and final move. Espino, Isley, and Villarreal are the three changes for Sacramento. They replaced Nishaw and Aleman early on, and then Cole Seiler late.
If they do decide to slide Jeremy Hall into the back, which is almost certainly the case, I would expect everybody else to follow suit. Villarreal had been sitting in the 10. He'll step back into the midfield next to Moffitt. And almost assuredly, Cami Wassa would slide into the 10 just underneath Christian Isley. Enable that distribution to help out big speedy forward up top. At least that's what they've done in the past. Wouldn't see why they would change now.
Owasa. Villarreal just did break down. I'm not sure there's any player with the resume of Cam Owasa that has his level of versatility among the front four. We've seen him on the right wing in this game. We've seen him fly up to the front of the formation. We think he's going to drop back as a number 10 or a withdrawn forward. And he's got 27 goals in his career for Sacramento. Ball knocked out in front and lifted over the crossbar by Reynolds for a Sacramento corner.
He's a very similar player to Corey Hertzog. Unfortunately, Corey Hertzog hasn't been in the form that Cami Wassa has, but those two can play with their backs to goal. And really their ability to hold up play and distribute to the overlapping runs and down into the channels is understated. It is such an amazing talent that really goes overlooked at times.
Jasic. Field from Dequa. They clear out a bit of space, and Horde lines this up. Header steered toward the near corner. Tainter crosses, gets over Moffitt. Did Culbertson touch it? No, Moffitt was appealing for it. Culbertson grabbing for the back of his head. Last year that Anthony Pulis led St. Louis, or rather Orlando City B, I should say, his previous stop to a 12-game unbeaten streak out of the cusp of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Turning it on here late as it's picked up by Cohen. The fourth straight win would go a long way right now. Last year, St. Louis finished 8 points out, finished with 1 win in their last 9 games under Preki. 1 win, 4 losses, 4 draws. Trying to avoid a late swoon. Fennelson will grab this.
We haven't even addressed that elephant in the room that Preki was in charge of both these squads. Haven't brought that one up yet, have we?
Oh.
Well, you forget the success he had just a few short years ago with Sacramento Republic.
Well, and when he came to St. Louis, I think everyone said, well, he did win with an expansion team in Sacramento, and he brought a lot of those guys. Guzman comes to mind, one of those Sacramento guys who made the move, and go, okay, here's St. Louis's chance to burst into the stratosphere, and all the air left that balloon mid-season. So Preki Bowl 4, as it might be. Gosh. You played for Preki, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No comment. Did you say something?
Not a word.
Everybody's got their own interpretation of what they'd like their manager to be, and he's very gifted. He knows the game very well. And we'll just leave it at that.
Simon Elliott trying to cheer the troops on. Attempt to combine there, falls short from Kali Street. Player down here for St. Louis FC.
You hear Lewis Hilton scream right after the challenge that he and Mitchell Tainer just got into on the touchline. Tainer had a nice touch out in front of him, and the second one got away as he looked to progress up the field. And this is exactly what happened. The two just going blows right at midfield. But Lewis is able to pull himself back up. You can see him back on his feet, so that's good news. Is there any bad news alongside it?
Hilton out of that Sterling program at Young Harris College. But now McCabe into the league. Ilya Illich, who just had that crazy #2 Sports Center top 10 play. St. Louis and Sacramento here, final 5 minutes. Last time these teams met, Devin, an absolute barn burner. And Awasa scoring twice, but Dequan Fall in the final 20.
As we mentioned early on, eerily similar, just a little bit of a role reversal. Sac Republic getting out early. Cami Wasa gets the brace in the almost opening 45. Just started the second, came out storming, and they really controlled the game well until about the 70-minute mark. A few tactical changes from Anthony Pulis, some personnel movement. And then the heart and character really kicked into high gear to get those 2 late goals, even things up.
Chests it down, excellent ball, Awasa trying to lay it back. It's caught by Fennelson. That all comes together the right way. We're talking about all the buildup of the week. Trying to rip through 2 players. Villarreal thought it was his throw. It is with St. Louis. Ball flicked on through. Isley put some pace on that, chested down. Ball coming across off the deflection. It's a throw for Sacramento. Mariasic swinging this in off the outside of his boot. Brought down Awasa. Horde launching across. Gomez. Hall knocking it over the top. There's a slide for the ball. Fly out of play with 2 minutes and stoppage to go.
We have seen some absolutely stellar ball movement from both squads tonight. Love the ball just a second ago from Christian Isley. Gets down in to the byline and just floats it right to the top of the 18. Again, these guys so good at trusting the process, knowing that their players are going to be there.
De Oliveira setting the world's best pick. This will get to Fenelson.
As soon as he comes out the field, I'll take it from you.
Isley charged on. St. Louis does have one more sub they can play with. Austin Ledbetter has moved toward the fourth official. And here comes that move. Ledbetter, one of those St. Louis Scott Gallagher Academy guys. Out of St. Louis, Missouri. You want to talk about a proud pack. These St. Louis Scott Gallagher folk. Ledbetter in, Lewis Hilton out.
Such a great career at SIU Edwardsville as well. He got drafted by Dallas, but ended up not heading in that direction. And gotta hope that Lewis Hilton is okay. Took a nasty knock, again with Mitchell Tainer here on the touchline, but he said he was okay, wanted to continue on. His manager has other ideas. Wants to secure those 3 points.
Culbertson caught that with his back foot. Well, we're into stoppage time. This is where the real magic happens in this matchup historically. 4 minutes added time. Away from Villarreal. Decision for the referee. Calistri is down. Tainter trying to help him up.
There's Mitchell Tainer lobbying for some volunteer work in front of our referee, trying to show his good grace after the challenge.
It's a yellow card.
It's the big center back tossing up again, coming out of the middle, trying to win this challenge, and that is really, really dangerous stuff. With Calistri extending his foot out, he knows it's coming, takes the brunt of it. Again, Mitchell Tainer without his partner Carlos Rodriguez, as the boys starting to mix it up. If you're Sam Fink, you got to step in, tell everybody to settle down. Closing moments of this game, no reason for any silliness.
Reynolds goes over and tries to calm down Kyle Culbertson. That's his third yellow of the year. So Reynolds and Culbertson playing on yellows one way. Tainter on a yellow for Sacramento. Kavita, yellow card as well. It's with Cohen. Well, certainly one self-inflicted wound from Sacramento. The 5th minute, Herzog's goal. Poor marking, conceded a second in the opening 10 minutes. Mariasic, can they recover here? Get a point on the road. Continue in lockstep near the top of the Western Conference standings. Moffitt struggling to deal with Cox. Not much to that for Wall Fall. 6 games unbeaten for Sacramento. Ball brought down away from Owasso. Hall snaps it wide. Cohen will collect again. Cohen going long. Up by Matiasic. Back to Hall. 2 players collide. Let's Moffitt pull through. Maybe a chance to put this thing away now. Kadeem Dakers. Dakers tried to cut back. One last chance for Sacramento. Hall. Off into the corner. It's a throw for Sacramento with stoppage time on the verge. Matiasic comes to the ball. Here it is for Sacramento. Matiasic serving, caught Fennelson.
Fennelson's got to slow down. You hear Anthony Pulis yelling at the referee that that's 4 minutes, but take his time here, push everybody up the pitch, and put it on the ground.
Well, there is going to be one more chance here for Sacramento. Fennelson's got this too. Fennelson pointing toward his wrist. A man who says he's not about the records, he's just about winning. For St. Louis, as prolonged a stretch of winning as they've ever felt. It is full time. A franchise record 4th straight win. And St. Louis is into playoff position in August. All the big stars shining brightest in the USL Game of the Week. Herzog and Gregg. St. Louis 2-1 victors over Sacramento.
Absolutely amazing stuff from the home squad. It was not meant to be for Sacramento Republic. Lucky number 7, no more. But St. Louis is able to get all the energy of their great home crowd behind them. 2 early goals. Fantastic performance for about 3/4 of the match, but able to close it out nonetheless to get their 4th and most important franchise victory of the season, a statement victory for St. Louis FC.
Highlights, stats, when we return. Well, this is what you do when you win in St. Louis. You celebrate with the fans. Music pumping through Toyota Stadium. And for St. Louis fans that have longed for a winner, longed for a playoff team, ever closer. 4 straight wins. The USL Game of the Week, St. Louis 2, Sacramento 1. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watson full-time. Here are the full-time highlights. And for St. Louis, all the highlights came while the sun was still out, or I guess while the clouds were most notable. 5th and 7th minute, off and running.
They deserve it as well. Corey Herzog just applying the pressure on Mitchell Tainer. And as he steps in, just, there you go. There's a gift in the opening 10 minutes, no problem. Josh Cohen hung out to dry, and that was the topic of conversation for the opening 45 minutes. Sac Republic could not get out of their own way. We're re-gifting all over the pitch to St. Louis FC. Corey Herzog did it in the 5th minute. You turned around in the 7th minute. Poor marking by the visiting squad. Nice little ball played in to Dakers, back out to Hilton, swings a teasing ball into the near post. Josh Cohen does not react, does not communicate. Kyle Gregg steps in, gets the 2nd goal.
Herzog now 3 goals this year, 30 going back the last 2.5 years, 10th goal of the year, and the 45th for Kyle Gregg in USL. Well, a couple more chances early. This to start the second half. Trying to put this out of reach, couldn't do so.
You took a look at Corey Herzog's performance over the course of the evening. It wasn't his goal, which was great, obviously, but his ability to hold up play and let the reinforcements come in and help out. Wasn't able to tick off a bunch of precious seconds on this clock, but Sacramento Republic would start to find their form in the second half. Good ball in. Matty Jasic is able to head it right back across the 6 where he should. Villarreal laying and waiting, just comes right across it, grabs it, says, come on, boys, there's a little fight left in us. But it was just too little too late for the traveling squad as St. Louis is able to close things out, get an excellent 3 points.
So in the first half, we talked about possession being 54-46 and it not being good enough from Sacramento. In the second half, that possession much more indicative.
I would have liked to have seen St. Louis FC come out with some more grit and tenacity at the start of the second half. They were very quiet, and you have to give credit, though, to Anthony Pulis in his game management because he started to bring on reinforcements. Mid-70-minute mark, Dequoff for Gregg, Michael Cox for Corey Herzog. Did a good job getting fresh blood, fresh energy out on the pitch. You saw the intensity raise a tiny touch, but still some question marks coming down. The manager's going to be unhappy with his boys able to close out, giving up that goal. No need for that. But still, this is a statement victory. We referenced the 4 in a row. That's excellent. But more importantly, they've done it versus quality opponents.
So St. Louis 2-1 winners over Sacramento as they move into playoff position, and Sacramento falls a little bit further off of the Monarchs' pace. Here's the upcoming Game of the Week schedule. Well, San Antonio, Phoenix, all right now in the mix with things. We'll see HEB Park in Rio Grande Valley. They're a team that can always steal points.
And Chandler Hoffman going to be able to get things done when St. Louis FC come to town. Again, his last year before he departs to head back home. And Phoenix Rising, they're interesting. You take a look at them, and they can be one of the most dangerous teams, not just in the Western Conference, but in the USL. And then they turn it on the next week, and they're dormant. So a lot of things going on out there for Rick Schantz. Hopefully he can get those guys back on track.
Well, nectar of the gods over there for Corey Herzog. Well deserved.
Some lemon-flavored water in there for sure.
Yeah. Corey Herzog celebrating with these fans. Why not? St. Louis proud as ever from the march in to the march out. 2-1 victory. Massive for St. Louis. They're in the playoff position. They take advantage of 2 crucial errors, make it carry the day. For director Gabe T. Sosin, Jimmy Dean, Ava Point, and Devon Curry, Mike Watson saying thanks for watching. St. Louis into the playoff position. Sacramento falls. It finishes 2-1. Good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.